Welcome to AI Strategy for CMOs. Hey everybody, welcome to AI Strategy for CMOs. I am your Action Jackson, your MC and host. And what is this? This is a new weekly series that discusses the problems that face ad techies, marketing executives, and creative agencies around the world and how artificial intelligence can solve them. My role outside of you for AI Strategy for CMOs is I'm the Executive Director of Innovation and Enablement for Qualix Consulting. And I'm not alone here. I have four amazing hosts and an amazing special guest. Our first host is Vance Reavey. He's the CEO and founder of Junction AI. And what is Junction AI? Junction AI is an artificial intelligence platform designed to help marketers predict the images, video, and text for successful Google Ads, social posts, and web promotions before launching. And I like to call Vance, as the host, the algorithm man. So bringing to the stage, let's give it up for Vance Reavey. What's up, Vance?
Hey, Gary. How you doing today? Good to see you.
Good to see you. And how is the beautiful land of Costa Rica? Good?
All good. I'd hate to talk about how nice the weather here is, given how bad it's in some parts of the world lately.
Yes.
Really
exactly.
excited about today's show. I'm really excited about our guest too, and getting deep diving into talking about agencies and the challenges the marketing agency faces in adopting AI, transforming AI with AI, and the benefits that they can expect to see and how to achieve those benefits.
Yeah, and I think today is going to be a great show because today we have two agency people. The first agency person that we have is our own host, is our second host, which is Mike Tankel. He's basically the partner optimist of To Be Continued. Mike led the brand strategy and fandom on Twilight, also including the movies Skyfall, Olympus Has Fallen, Odd Life of Timothy Green, Lone Ranger, and Insidious. Not to mention he was the brand strategist of AT&T. I like to call Mike the agency man. Bring him to the stage. This is Mike Tankel. What's up, Mike?
What's up, everybody? How we doing today?
Great, Mike.
Welcome to the show. Now, you're not going to be alone today, so our special guest would be another agency person. So we're going to have a head-to-head agency death match. So I'm pretty excited. Hopefully, it's not a death match.
No.
That's too far. Maybe that was a little too far. But anyway, yes. Our third and final host is Scott Taylor. You might know him from his own bombastic podcast, but he's also the co-founder for Blue Skies Ventures. Scott was also the co-founder for an internet company called virtualrelocation.com and raised millions in venture funding, and the company sold to Monster.com for just under $100 million. Scott is our bombastic businessman. Bring it to the stage. Welcome, Scott Taylor.
Welcome, welcome. Another great day to be alive in sunny California.
Right.
The special place that we live in here in LA County. It's the most lockdown city and county in the world, I believe, right now. So we're proud of that. And
really, is that a pride point for
Santa
Monica?
Absolutely a pride point. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the show. Our guest that's going to be on the show is a pistol, to say the least, and I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say. Never a dull moment.
And well, let's do this. Let's bring her right on.
Bring her on.
Yeah, so she's a leading authority on accelerating revenue growth. She's the fractional chief marketing officer and the CEO of the Marketing Blender, a B2B sales and marketing alignment agency. She's a member of the Forbes Agency Council and a Forbes contributor. She was also named an American Advertising Federation Shooting Star. I like to call her the American Advertising Federation Comet because she doesn't die out. She just orbits and orbits and orbits. You like that, the way I pandered? In addition to her client work, she writes and she speaks on how people can use her work and words to unleash their potential and change the world. I'd like to bring to the stage Dacia Coffey. Welcome to the show.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Woo!
Hey, wow.
Here we go.
And Mike, I'll totally take you. I know I don't look like it, but come on.
Ain't going down easy. Gotta have a fight.
Yes.
Well, today's show, the real focus on that is the agency. It's basically what are the issues that are facing agencies right now and how can technology change that up? Vance, we were talking about this before the show. How did you want to go about, what are agencies facing right now? What are some of the issues that they're facing?
I think there's probably two key areas that I see when I talk to agencies or hear from the agencies. And one is this demand that there is some sort of transformation around using data and data analytics, be it behavioral science, be it AI analytics, be it predictive analytics. But there's this focus on saying we need to start backing decision-making with data. We need to inform better decision-making with data, be it in our creative process, be it in our ad optimization, be it in our strategies, whatever it is. But data is at the core of the future of the agency. And the second thing that we hear all the time, of course, is the margin squeeze. Agencies, it's a very competitive business. The resources are human, so they're costly, and they churn a lot. There's a lot of lost time, a lot of deadweight loss in that. So the agency margins, they need to be addressed, but at the same time, there's more technology, more things to purchase, more cost of the input. So where can AI platforms like what we do at Junction make a difference on that?
That's so noble.
Oh, I know, I try.
Because what I hear from agencies, being a little cynical here, is what data do we have so we can charge more?
Yeah.
Vance worked with Mother Teresa. You know that, right? As part of his long list
of campaigns, all her campaigns.
You know what, though? I will say this real quick, Dacia. Like we had a meeting today, Vance, and we were talking to somebody, and there is this thing that's out there, this kind of snake oil within these apps. And I think that there's an exhaustion or maybe kind of a tainted view from some of these agencies that, along the way, there have been people that have really haven't delivered the goods, but have said what these agencies want to hear and then fell short. And so I learned a little bit more about that today on a call that I was on. And Dacia, maybe you can respond to that. Are agencies just really skeptical?
100%. I mean, every marketing conference you've been to for the last 5 years shows that horrible, overwhelming graphic of, 10 years ago, there was 1,000, or so marketing, technologies out there, different software, SaaS platforms. And now there's 10,000, 15,000 to choose from. And I tell you what, my LinkedIn messages show it. I must get no less than 2 or 3 outreaches from another technology, another platform, another Marcom saying we can solve all your problems. And so there's a lot of deafness happening, at least personally, and the other agency owners and creative directors I know just going, okay, but every once in a while, somebody will get the problem right and it will catch my attention. We go through the demo, and then I find out the onboarding is a nightmare. The user experience is horrible. My team hates it. So it's not making them more productive. It's making them less productive. And then if that doesn't get through our workflows, there's less than 0 impact on the client. There's actually a negative return because it didn't work. And so I have become extremely skeptical. And we do a lot of research before, and we don't necessarily have the time to do that. So thank God I already know Junction AI and got in there early. So, that was incredibly helpful. But I've been burned numerous times. My gosh, even onboarding the big automation platform that shall not be named, years and years ago, and their first 1 or 2 years was, I thought it was going to be the death of me.
You raise an interesting point on that process and the time and cost and that. And what we see a lot of times when we're talking to agencies is that they have bought in suites of software before. They've invested themselves in data analytics teams or resources or maybe even freelancers or, the software as well. But what seems to happen frequently is they've invested in that, but then it's almost like there's a silo where those things sit in one space, but that nobody really uses them, or the insights are being churned away. But whether it's a UX issue or whether it's the way they onboard or it's the way the insights are provided to the team, it just seems to lack usage or lack the practical use cases that they can roll something out with it right away. And I see that a lot in different pieces of software and the adoption rates.
Well, Vance, where in the process should people get to you? Is it at the brief stage? Is it at pre-brief? Is it creative development? Is it testing? When should agencies contact you and bring you in?
I think they need to have it brought in right at the beginning when they're doing that brief stage. Ideally they have data, because I won't lie, with AI, we need to have data. We need some data in there, some historical campaign information, something so that we can create this audience model, which is what we do. We take the first party data and we create an audience model. That audience model it's a simulation of the audience, and it is really your audience because it's first party. So that's our starting point. So, you can use historical campaigns to do that. You can use, that information, even if you're just going into a new campaign or a new area. And then the other side that we get in on there is the optimization side as well, because as soon as that new campaign's generating data, we can capture that data really quickly, really, really fast, to update that model so that we can give insights on how to redirect the campaign quickly. So there's no more money wasted.
So how much time from engagement to insight?
We can actually spin up a model in a day and have insights by the end of the day. Most of our clients will be within, the week to two. They'll have done the analysis with our team, and they'll have new campaigns ready to go, and very high certainty that those campaigns will succeed.
That's fantastic, because so many folks think, you got to have this big data warehouse. You need months of data collection, months of analysis, and a lot of money.
I mean, that's in Daisy's probably heard that too. I mean, how many of your clients have invested in data lakes or data warehouses, and what are they doing with them?
Well, and they're not. I mean, it's so interesting. Several of our clients sell to some of the world's biggest brands, and so I get to be a part of, because I'm a CMO, a fractional CMO, so I get to be a part of a lot of these interesting backroom discussions, if you will. And the data problem is so real, but there's a new expectation on the brand side, on the client side, that data is a nonstop conversation now. And they're being very practical and very aggressive about, where are data gaps? Are we optimizing what we know? What insights are we gleaning? And they are, if the agency's watching now, if they're not hearing that from their clients, guys, it's coming. Because this is what the C-suite's talking about, that cascade down, to the VPs and the directors, and the mid-level managers. It's coming to you, because this is what they're being tasked with. And what kind of value creation can you provide if you're being proactive about that? You're showing business impact, you're overcoming, the marketing ROI conversation on their behalf. It's huge. But going back to something that Vance was saying just a minute ago, one day that's possible now. I mean, it's not appropriate any longer for agency owners or principals or creative directors to go, I don't have time for this right now. You're right. You don't have time, right? Clients are like, your expectations, like, you have got to jump on the bandwagon, because you will be left behind. And now that digital transformation is front and center, and, like, we all just had to figure it out last year. I mean, it is a totally new paradigm, total new landscape in regards to what people will tolerate, and they're not going to tolerate you staying, like how you've always done it. You've got to find the time. You've got to get your teams using this kind of technology.
So Dacia, on the agency side, one of the things that we know, and it doesn't even matter what size of agency, but everybody's got a P&L. The media buyers have a P&L, the overall company does, and there are platforms that they can kind of divvy up around the, whether it's your CRM that everybody kind of takes a piece of. But, I think that one of the challenges also is that the benefit of using this tool, among other tools like this, is that there's not an immediate impact. It's a cost that they have to then kind of share with, it eats into their margin. And so the CEO might look at this and say, I understand how this gets me up to bigger revenues quicker, bigger commissions off of bigger revenues means more money. But for the media buyer, they're making an immediate hit. That person running that department, how do you communicate that it's going to be better for everybody? It's going to be better for you with retention. Your performers are going to perform better. Your experts pulling the levers within media buying. Sometimes they're just so worried about that monthly commission check or that profit sharing thing that it's hard to get them to buy in, even though it's an obvious benefit to the business at the bottom line.
I love what you're saying there. I mean, I think there's a couple of different things. I mean, first of all, it's about looking at it a little differently and more broadly, honestly, because you're right. There is such narrow-mindedness sometimes because of what their job structure is about that media buying piece. So kind of chasing the pain. Where are the problems where ineffective ads or wasted ad spend is showing up, and who actually cares about that? So, I'm seeing a lot more necessity on the client side and the agency and client side to find consensus and to be more expansive in regards to your business impact. I mean, I think marketing's role is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it should be, right? I mean, that's how you can increase your influence and your impact. And we've had all of these social issues out there. And marketing is your communication arm to stay relevant. So, I mean, thinking of media buying in this very narrow areas is inappropriate, and it gets brands in trouble. And agencies, big agencies especially, can really help advocate for that. But the other thing, and this is my favorite word, is optimization. That's the thing that we need to be talking about. Not new, not additional, not another thing, not chase another squirrel, but hey, we are doing the right things in a strategic way. Can we get more for our money? And that's exactly where AI plays. And these tools, these practical tools that really just require smart processes on the agency side, they can make massive impact. And you don't have to go back to a client going, well, we want to spend another gazillion dollars, or here's another thing. And, where they're finally really thinking, okay, they're not only creative and brilliant and visionary, but they're practical. And that's real business impact, is being willing to take a bigger model and, find those spaces where, there's unoptimized opportunity. And the results with AI are astonishing, and without cutting out the human.
Yeah, I think you really nailed it there. I mean, that underperforming side is where the first opportunity is. That's the low-hanging fruit right away. And what we keep seeing again and again is it's not rocket science. This isn't about spending millions of dollars on research and stuff like that. This is actually about having something that can surface what is generating demand in your audience, first of all, because we come into our planning and our creative, and we have this idea that this is the right direction to go. We have our personas, all those sorts of things. We have some example creative that maybe we've come up with, but what is actually generating demand? What is the audience asking us to do or say, or what benefits, features do they care about? Well, we can get that. If we can get that right at the beginning, then we can be so smart about how we develop our creative, be it for Facebook or Google or whatever, right? We can make sure we're guided in the right direction on that, so we know we're picking up that low-hanging fruit of the underperforming spend or the mistargeted spend. And I mean, that's just that's one of the most practical use cases any agency can get started on today.
Well, that's why I always tell you it's not artificial intelligence; it's accessible intelligence.
Yeah.
Data is there waiting for you. It's waiting there for a brand. It's waiting there, and nobody's touching it. You're making it accessible, usable, and beneficial.
I love it. We were talking something, I'm going to change the subject just a teeny bit more onto the agency side. We were talking in the back room about, some trends happening on the agency side. And one of the things that I'm seeing with especially some of the digital marketing partners that we have in agencies where they're digital only is the insane amount of churn happening in their talent, right? So these young, hungry kids come in and you train them up on all the tools and all the platforms, and 18 months later, they are worth $25,000 more on the market, and they're poached just like that. And guess what? There went all of your account insights. There went, all of that knowledge that was gained. But with AI and optimized tools, optimization tools, all of a sudden you can keep that. You can get people up to speed faster, and you can have more ownership and kind of almost protect yourself from churn, in my opinion, if it's really done operationally, in the appropriate manner.
Stacey, doesn't Google do that now? Don't they keep that stuff all memorized? Isn't it all in their big black box? And Facebook, right?
Okay, and can I just also add the fact that what used to work 18 months ago and the projections that they give us based on a decade's worth of data are all of a sudden well, this used to work and the algorithm thinks, and I mean, you've got to have tools like watching what's happening recently. But yeah, really, really good point that, it's not just going to do it for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. We get this a lot too, that, it is a black box and there is great optimization tools there. But if you're not going into those tools already knowing your creative is going to attract the right type of audience that you need to attract, what generates demand, then you are still spending. You're still moving into what Daisy said, those new media buyer, new performance marketer staff going in there having to spend a lot of time and money learning and then trying to get something useful out of the statistics.
So how does Junction make that easier, Vance? If somebody steps in Jimmy, media buyer, leaves after 6 months because you didn't give him a raise and fresh kombucha, so he beat it out the door, went to another agency. Now that new direct-to-consumer, espadrille company from Argentina is just left out in the cold? Or give me an example.
I think this is a really good one to talk about, because this is really something that's very practical. And that when that person leaves, they're taking that knowledge of that brand, what worked, what didn't work, what they tried. Someone else is going to have to recreate that from the beginning. But the reality is all the data that inform that person, that data is all there. That's the brand's first party data. So a new agency coming on board, the new marketer coming on board, if they're using an audience model like we create, they're generating those insights. They're owning those insights. And that data is the clients or the brands. So they should have those insights, and that should be carried across. That should be carried to the next media buyer, to the next agency, whatever it is. It's their asset. The data itself, that's the raw feedstock, but the insights that the AI learns, the patterns of relationships it's finding, whether the word buy is better than the word shop, or whether they should use the word compare, whether it's the blue t-shirt and the green tree, or the e-scooter and the green tree in the picture. All the things that matter to making that brand more optimized and more successful in their spend is held within that audience model. So that's the perfect, that's the first handover thing to a new media buyer. Here's the audience model and the insight it has, be it on all data, the segment of data, or whatever cohort they've run that audience model on. A new person could just get up and go with it right away.
How do you estimate the loss, Dacia, on something like that? Like that, we all know in agency business all too often that person leaves, the client's pissed. They're like, look, you guys, it's like a revolving door. Every 6 months, somebody who comes in. Is there a cost that we can get our hands around what that
As you know, I really can't. The cost of that is staggering. I really could not even guess. So you know what I think is happening is we don't bother trying to guess how bad.
You don't want to know. You don't want to know.
Exactly. It's like, that's just part of the pain. Like, that's just what we opt in for in this crazy creative world. The
client kind of knows. The client kind of has a feeling that they're going to take a hit somewhere in this transition that's going to be really smooth. And Fiona's really good. She's our best buyer. There's not going to be any big problem. Like, it's going to be a smooth transition, right?
And that's the thing. Client delight just starts to be deteriorated, right? That customer experience that everybody's so hot to talk about. It is awkward having to introduce 4 different people in 12 months. And every time you're saying they're amazing, they're these superstars. And at some point that just starts to get hollow, and employee churn culture, what it does internally, when you can't have some consistency. So I'm not trying to say like AI can prevent you from losing your people, but it can protect your brand integrity, can protect the messaging, the client messaging that you have. It can help you tell the truth about the environment and what it's like to be an agency and still go, and we are going to crush it for you. And here's why. We've built processes. We're incredibly innovative. We understand how to use the most advanced technology in a practical manner. Now, that's something that clients can go, I get it. We face churn also, but if you can still stand by your results, that's client delight, right? That's how you reduce customer churn, even if you have team churn happening. And that, we all know, what is that statistic? That cutting client churn by 1% is the equivalent of 10% cut in expenses. You cannot afford to lose customers. No matter how big the agency is, you cannot afford to lose those clients because it's massive, especially if you're trying to offset other places where your profit is being eaten into.
Well, it takes about 1.5 years to earn back what you spent on a pitch.
Yes.
Wow.
Vince, how do you handle?
Another side of that is the risk management. From what you're saying, Dacia, there, it's that risk management side. If you do, every business is going to have churn on staff. We know that's going to happen. We've got to reduce the amount of impact that has on clients, of course, and give them, the best we can without having disruption. But when you're bringing in new people all the time, you're also bringing in their biases, their assumptions, their point of view. And you want that, of course, because, you need to have new energy, new life, and all those sorts of things. But you also don't want to lose what you had before, or what was working before, or knowing what should work on that campaign because of the data that you already have. So I also see there's a good opportunity in there to just, know that the risk management is in place, that we're not, it's not just because there's a new person, we're starting over every time.
So perfectly stated. Everybody's a believer in A/B testing, right? This is not new to say the least, but it takes time. And if you have someone that comes in and they don't have those early experiments, or there's no documentation of exactly why we got here or whatnot, I mean, good Lord, you're right. Like, if biases and assumptions are causing you to redo any sort of testing or go backwards, and why? You know, I mean, when AI can accelerate that and you don't have all of that swamp that you have to mire and muddle through in order to finally get on the right path and the closest path. And so just the ability to, you know, accelerate performance, and every client wants results yesterday. Like,
Of course.
Sure. But
like, let's be honest, like, they'll say, oh yeah, we understand months and testing and accounts that no, they do not.
Yeah, they're not gonna put up that nonsense. But Vance, I know you have a team, and as a lot of SaaS companies have teams that help implementing and getting these guys to adopt a whole new behavior and a new platform. How are you finding out how to do this effectively? I mean, you know, even if you sell the CEO or the decision maker within the brand or the agency, now you have to get this expert to actually learn to adopt the tool, to embrace the tool, to get excited about this platform. How do you do that? It seems like the real tough part.
You're right. It is the tough part, because that's the part that relies on the human. The computer stuff, we can factor all those sort of variables in and manage that. But the human side and getting the human going on it is an interesting process. And what we've really learned, though, is that we have to actually not just, like Dacia said, there's 15,000 other software tools out there for marketers or whatever it is. You know, they have an astounding number of dashboards they're already using. All right, great. But we need users, and we need them to appreciate using. So how are we going to help with that? Well, we've realized we have to provide expert service with that. And by expert service, I'm not talking that we're hiring a bunch of PhDs in math and data scientists to help them, but it's actually experts in using insights and unpacking the insights and translating that into something the media buyer, the performance marketer, the agency creative director, something they can tactfully use that day in preparing their campaign or in optimizing their campaign. And I'll give you an example. We're working with the sports team. We've had a good look at their data, our own team, and none of us play this sport. We're not experts in this brand, experts in this sport. But right away, that allowed us, within the first day, to start looking at their creative and go, well, from an outsider perspective, we don't fully understand it either. So here's some of the insights that are coming up. And we actually need to help your audience even understand you, first of all, and then we can build, the revenue gain or the lead gain or whatever it is they're looking for.
Are people still playing Highline, Mike?
Well, yeah, I'm not a highlight player. I couldn't tell you.
I'm kidding.
I haven't seen that since Miami Vice.
Or
football, where he comes from.
Well, like, I want to jump on something that Vance said there, is that, that these tools aren't about being critical of creative or defining this is exactly what you do, right, and stealing creative integrity. Really what it's doing is it's an opportunity to challenge smart creatives, to go, okay, here are the certain elements that we've got to require. Now let's build some creativity around that and apply our own critical thinking to why does that work. And I mean, it's so cool because you can start to reverse engineer new insights based on the data and based on, audiences that you're already familiar with, but now you're getting into nuance. Yeah. And that's really cool because there's just, depending on the structure of consumer surveys and consumer research, I mean, the nuance can get so cloudy and clouded, and but this is an opportunity to start seeing and listing some things that maybe wouldn't surface any other way without hamstringing creative and doing it cut and dry, because it's not what that is about at all.
That is one of the most exciting opportunities, I think, for creatives in this days. It's that freeing them up with the confidence. I mean, if our tool is showing you an insight that the concept of wood is really important in this image for a Facebook ad, well, it doesn't mean just go put, a picture of a lumber yard in there, a bunch of 2x4s. It's about thinking about the brand and, all right, how do I apply that? Does that mean trees? Should I have a forest? Do I have people out there? Like, how do I unpack that and apply that in a really useful way to my brand that I know as the human experience side of these. How can I take that and make that a forceful creative that engages?
Yeah, and by the way, that subjectivity is the bane of the existence of the creator at that point, because the brand owner is saying, I like this. They're going, tell me what you want. I can do whatever you want. Just tell me what you need. And then these conversations get out of control. The agency starts to burn cash because these revisions that they included turned into 2 to 7. Nobody's happy. The creators is frustrated. This actually would be a huge benefit to the designer in the agency or the brands, right?
The AI is not to change the creative; it's to arm the creative team.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Well done. Well said.
That's what he does. That's the guy right there. This is what he does.
That's what I said before the show. Mike always has a way of summing it up at the end in one great statement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, every agency on the planet at one point has complained about being an order taker. I mean, this gives you a leadership tool.
And yet they thrive on it.
Yeah.
It allows them to cast blame.
Yeah. Mike, did you come up with the phrase that George Bush used, that carries a waffler? Did you just come up with that? And then he just kept using that every time Bush was asked a question? He said, hey, I don't know about that.
All the presidents.
You are the advisor for the one, 1, 2, 3 punch, right?
No.
All right. I thought it was you. My mistake.
I try to keep things, hidden.
All right.
That to and fro with the client, though, that is a really it's another perfect example of where there's money to be saved, time to be saved, and a relationship that might get rocky or get annoying or frustrating for both sides as well. And we interviewed a lot of agencies, well over 100 when we were in our development cycle, and almost all of them, they had their margin was number one issue, of course, but number two issue is just having the data to back those decisions. So when they go back to the client with copy changes for a search ad or image changes for a Facebook ad or whatever, video, they actually could go back and say, we've done the testing on the audiences. We know with certain percentage certainty that this is going to have an impact in the direction we want it to have an impact. You can really cut out a lot of that to and fro of, whoever thinks it's going to be better on the other side, or I showed some of my members of my team and they like this photo better. Well, I don't really care what they liked better. Is it going to work better? Is the audience going to click on it or take the action we want them to take? That's what matters, not whether we like this color, this t-shirt, this bit in the photo, or whatever it is. If you hear conversation out, you probably are saving a lot of money right there.
Here.
And by the way, so this is a very special, momentous occasion for us because we have, Dacia with us. But Dacia, you are celebrating 2 amazing milestones today. You are receiving an American Advertising Award, an Addy, after the show, or it's going to be postponed, but it was supposed to be after today's show. Yep. And the monkey is off your back. You just finished your first manuscript for your first book. Is that correct?
Yes. So this feels so good to just be with smart and interesting people. But yeah, this has been a hell of a day.
and to be honest, we are just so honored to have you on the show. Especially we've actually been very stoked throughout the entire week for this. But one of the things I was going to ask you is for your manuscript, when you wrote that last paragraph, was it hell on earth? Were you like relief? How did you feel when you wrote that last paragraph and just threw it out to the editor? How did that?
Oh God, it felt so good. But I'll tell you, so I thought I finished the last paragraph a week ago. And so this morning I'm cleaning up, and so this weekend I spent all the nonsense that any creative hates doing, right? The formatting and what it has to look like to get it to the editorial team. And so I do one final scan of, all the pages, 40,000 words or whatever. And I see this section I'd highlighted red because I hadn't finished it. And thankfully it was only 5 bullet points. I had a stream of expletives coming out of my mouth this morning at 5:30 in the morning. Like, how did I miss that?
Right.
That's great. So I wake up that way every day, Dacia. I get up, start cursing. It starts while I'm still sleeping, and the profanities continue when I become awake. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, that's a big achievement, Daisy. I can hardly wait to see this book out. And between your work at your agency and between your award-winning speeches and keynote events and now a book. So that's pretty impressive.
We talk about optioning it for the movie?
Yeah, exactly. Here you were first.
And when is the book? Do you have any idea when the book's going to be coming out, or are you just kind of at the mercy of your editors and your publishing company?
I'm a little at the mercy, but I'm hoping mid-May. So, thankfully, having a creative agency, we get to control the artwork, not the publishing house.
Right.
So that's going to accelerate things. So we've got a little more, but yeah, a little bit on them. But I think it's going to be mid-May.
Awesome. Great show today, Gary. Good work. I think we got a lot of stuff, and I answered a lot of questions for me too. So I hope everybody's happy.
Yes. And so what we have after this is we have an audience after show. The audience after show is going to be on Clubhouse. If you don't have a Clubhouse invite, please hook us, feel free to DM us or send a message on our Facebook pages. We can send you a VIP if you have invites. I don't know if anybody has any invites left. I have some. I got some too.
I got some.
Yeah, we can give them to you, but we'll be starting this exactly at 5 p.m., which is Eastern time, and 2 p.m. Pacific time. We'll all be on there and keeping this and making sure this is an interactive experience. I had a blast. I love hanging out with you guys, especially on a Thursday afternoon. And Dacia, I can't thank you enough for being our guest. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was all mine. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Peace and love.
Thank you.
Thank you. And welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of AI Strategy for CMOs. I'm your host, Gary Jackson, as they also call Action Jackson. And thanks so much for being on the show. We'll hear every Thursday at 4 p.m. and hopefully to see you next Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
What if I told you the competition increased their ad engagement by 350%? Or they boosted dollar value per online sale by 8 times? You'd want to know how, right? Your future and your ability to compete in the marketplace is at risk. It's simple. Your competitor has found a new formula. They're using an AI audience model to predict winning creative and successful digital advertising to dramatically boost their ad performance. And now you can too. With Junction AI, there's no need for expensive engineering and data science. Our AI deep learning solution creates an audience model from your data to deliver relevant and targeted predictions and insights to make your ad creative dramatically more effective. It's a first-of-its-kind solution, and best of all, it's designed especially for marketers. Let me show you how it works. Connect your audience data in a click. Choose your goal. Next, start a new ad or work from an imported ad. Change some copy or an image. Score it. We just ran up to 75 million tests on your audience data. Now is the fun part. Check the improvement suggestions on each field. Make changes and score again to see if you're heading in the right direction. Validate your message is on target with the results breakdown. If the concepts here aren't what you think you are promoting, then you're probably wasting a lot of time and money. Now, it's time to deploy live. In only seconds, you've harnessed your data to save time and dramatically boost your results. It's like having your own personal AI data scientist at your fingertips 24/7. Digital is a science. We are the formula.